Happy Sabbath, happy Sabbath. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you at, to the 12 tribes of Israel. I'm back at it again as your brother Shizkiah, and I'm coming to you live with the part 2 of Feast of Dedication. So if you guys was following me last time, then you should know that the last scripture that we left off on was in First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 25. So for those who are just signing back on, what had happened during this time frame is when Antiochus's messengers came and were basically trying to get Mattathias to conform, to leave off from keeping the Most High God's commandments and to accept what Antiochus's new laws and commandments were. All right, they wanted them to defile everything that they believed in. Mattathias stood strongly on that and refused to allow it to happen. Now, also during this time, Mattathias ended up killing those messengers as well as one of his fellow brethren, because that particular brother decided that they was going to go up to the altar and try to sacrifice. Mattathias wasn't having that. All right, he was standing 10 toes down on this truth and on these commandments and on this law and being a faithful servant to the Most High God. So he dealt with them quickly. All right, so that's the last thing that we ended up reading. Now, we're going to go to, let's see, we'll start at verse 22. We'll read it from there. Once again, I'm reading from the KJV 1611 Apocrypha. If you don't have it, you can utilize your phone. The app is on Android and Apple platforms. All right, so I'm going to get through this with you guys, and I'm pretty sure you all have read along on your own as well. That was part of your homework. But, you know what I'm saying, we're going to go through a few things. All right, so let's start in the book of First Maccabees, chapter 2, verse 22, just so we can kind of refresh what happened. All right. We will not hearken to the king's words to go from our religion, either on the right hand or the left. Now, when he had left speaking these words, there came one of the Jews in the sight of all to sacrifice on the altar, which was at Modin, according to the king's commandment. Which thing, when Mattathias saw, as he was inflamed with zeal, and his reins trembled, neither could he forbear to show his anger according to judgment. Wherefore he ran and slew him upon the altar. So he went in, sworded in his right, and basically just impaled this man right there on the altar. All right. Also, the king's commissioner who compelled men to sacrifice, he killed at that time, and the altar he pulled down. Thus dealt he zealously for the law of God, like as Phineas did unto Zambri, the son of Shalom. And Mattathias cried throughout the city with a loud voice, saying, whosoever is zealous of the law and maintaineth the covenant, let him follow me. So he and his sons fled into the mountains and left all that ever they had in the city. So basically, Mattathias is rallying up the troops after he's committed these acts righteously for the Lord, righteous murder, if you will. All right, he's trying to get the rest of his people to follow alongside him if they have every intention on not allowing these heathens to come in and force their religion upon him. All right, verse 29. Then many that sought after justice and judgment went down into the wilderness to dwell there, both they and their children, and their wives, and their cattle, because afflictions increased sore upon them. Now when it was told the king's servant and the host that was at Jerusalem, in the city of David, that certain men who had broken the king's commandment were gone down into the secret places in the wilderness, they pursued after them a great number. And having overtaken them, they camped against them and made war against them on the Sabbath day. So Antiochus' people, they was pissed. Even so much that they're trying to track these people down. And they were just so unruly that they would even attack them on their Sabbath day, because Antiochus' plan was very spot on. All right, there was no blemishes in it. He wanted to make sure that these people were going to defile their God any way possible to make sure that he follows his God or whoever he's trying to push. That was his agenda: make us forsake the law in any way possible. You know good and well we ain't supposed to be fighting on the Sabbath day. It's supposed to be a day of rest and a day of reverence for the Most High God. So what does he do? Make sure that we get attacked on the Sabbath day. See what I'm saying? And also, just a side note, isn't it funny how it says here that because they broke the king's commandment, his judgment was sending people against them to make sure they end up getting killed. So my thing is, if the other nations, all right, the heathen, the opposition, right, those who are not true devoted followers of the Most High God, if they can decree their own commandments and they have judgment for us not keeping their commandments, why is it that we believe that the Most High God would deal with us in any other way? Especially when we read all throughout the scriptures where our people were punished because we wouldn't keep commandments. If it's good enough for the other nation, why is it not good enough for God? The same way how we're here in this country. We know that there's certain things we cannot do here, or we will risk being thrown in jail. We risk being shot down in the street by the cops. We risk all of these different things. So we're scared of the man, but we're not scared of the Most High God Father. But you see, in this point in time, brothers and sisters, our people didn't move like that. We was more scared of God than we were of men. And that is how it was always supposed to be. We was never supposed to lose that fear. But I just wanted to throw that in there to make you think. So let's continue back with the scriptures. Verse 33. And they said unto them, let that which ye have done hitherto suffice. Come forth and do according to the commandment of the king, and ye shall live. So now they're trying to give them one last chance to get themselves together and to conform. All right. But they said, we will not come forth, neither will we do the king's commandment to profane the Sabbath day. So then when they gave them the battle with all speed, howbeit they answered them not, neither cast they a stone at them, nor stopped the places where they lay hid. So they didn't do anything. All right. But said, proudly, confidently in their faith in the Most High God, these people said, your ancestors said, let us die in our innocency. Heaven and earth shall testify for us that ye put us to death wrongfully. So they rose up against them in battle on the Sabbath, and they slew them with their wives and children and their cattle to the number of 1,000 people. Now when Mattathias and his friends understood hereof, they mourned for them right sore. And one of them said to another, if we all do as our brethren have done and fight not for our lives and laws against the heathen, they will now quickly root us out of the earth. At that time, therefore, they decreed, saying, well, whosoever shall come to make battle with us on the Sabbath day, we will fight against them, and neither will we die all, as our brethren that were murdered in the secret places. Then came there unto them a company of Assyrians, who were mighty men of Israel, even all such as were voluntarily devoted unto the law. Also, all they that fled from persecution joined themselves unto them, and were stay unto them. So they joined their forces and smote sinful men in their anger and wicked men in their wrath. But the rest fled to the heathen for support. So not everybody was on this fighting type of time. All right, you had the warriors, and then you had those who cowered away and didn't want to be a part of it and didn't want to risk losing their lives. So they just went right over to the heathen, like, yep, whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. All right. Then Mattathias and his friends were round about and pulled down the altars. And what children soever they found within the coast of Israel uncircumcised, they circumcised them valiantly. Or they did this with passion. They did it quickly, expeditiously, if you will. They pursued also after the proud men, and the work prospered in their hand. So they recovered the law out of the hand of the Gentiles and out of the hand of kings. Neither suffered they the sinner to triumph. Now when the time drew near that Mattathias should die, he said unto his sons, now hath pride and rebuke gotten strength in the time of destruction and the wrath of indignation. Now therefore, my sons, be zealous for the law, and give your lives for the covenant of your fathers. Call to remembrance what acts our fathers did in their time. So shall ye receive great honor and an everlasting name. This is how we gain everlasting power in name and in peace and in prosperity, by calling on the remembrance of our forefathers who really fought for this thing. All right, they went through hell and back for the Lord because they had that much faith and they knew they would be rewarded for it. And then Mattathias gives us examples of some of our forefathers who was going through trials with the other nations. So watch this. It's very important. Verse 52. Was not Abraham found faithful in temptation, and it was imputed unto him for righteousness? Joseph, in the time of his distress, kept the commandment and was made Lord of Egypt. Phineas, our father, in being zealous and fervent, obtained the covenant for an everlasting priesthood. Jesus, all right, for fulfilling the word, was made a judge in Israel. All right, because Christ, that's exactly what he did. Caleb, for bearing witness before the congregation, received the heritage of the land. David, for being merciful, possessed the throne of an everlasting kingdom. Elias, for the being zealous and fervent for the law, was taken up into heaven. Ananias, Azarias, and Michelle, by believing, were saved out of the flame. Those are the three brothers who was cast into the flame because they didn't want to defile the Most High. And they sat right in there, fire burning, scorching, and then have a mark on them. All right? Daniel, for his innocency, was delivered from the mouth of lions. And thus consider ye throughout all ages that none that put their trust in him shall be overcome. Fear not the words of a sinful man, but his glory shall be dung and worms. So tell them, don't worry about what the sinners is doing. There's absolutely nothing that they can say or they can do that will have more power over you, your spirit, and your life than what the Most High God has over you. So do never defile God because someone else is trying to get you to do so, brothers and sisters. Never. Don't ever even put yourself in that situation to compromise. That's the type of dedication and commitment that we need to have to the Lord, because our people had that at one point. And I know that seems like something that's inconceivable, right? You can't even fathom that when you look at how deplorable of a state our people are in right now. But we was not always like this, all right? We were fighters. We were faithful, okay? Today he shall be lifted up, and tomorrow he shall not be found, because he is returned into his dust, and his thought is come to nothing. Wherefore, ye my sons, be valiant, and show yourselves men in the behalf of the law, for by it shall ye obtain glory. And behold, I know that your brother Simon is a man of counsel. Give ear unto him always. He shall be a father unto you. So now what we're seeing is Matthias assigning certain positions to his sons, and how they are supposed to operate with one another. Okay? As for Judas Maccabeus, he hath been mighty and strong, even from his youth up. Let him be your captain and fight for the battle of the people. Take also unto you all those that observe the law, and avenge ye the wrong of your people. Recompense fully the heathen, and take heed to the commandments of the law. So he blessed them and was gathered to his fathers, and he died in the 146th year, and his sons buried him in the sepulchres of his father, and Modin and all Israel made great lamentation for him. Matthias was a mighty man, brothers and sisters. All right, he set the tone. All right, he was the one out of many who actually stood tall for the Lord, as his forefathers did before him. All right, and he basically told them there was never a time where, when we believed on the Most High, that he ever left us hanging. Look at how many captivities we've been in. Anytime we reach out and we finally start showing glimpses of the what's the word I'm looking for? Start showing glimpses of the potential that the Most High God created us with. The Most High is always there to save us. The problem is that a lot of our people don't choose the Most High. They choose themselves first, and then they choose the Most High. All right? They have an idea of what they want and what they're trying to do, and they're going to try to do it any way they can, no matter how many sins or how compromising they may be towards the Lord to get what they want. And then afterwards, they want to thank God afterwards. Or even worse, you got the people who know or willingly doing sin, but then want to ask the Most High God to bless it. See, that's not how things are supposed to be done. That's out of order. All right? You know, as we already know, the Most High God is not here to praise of sinners. All right? You have to be a righteous worker for the Lord in order to receive blessings. And that is exactly what we see here. Just to give you guys a precept for what he was saying, giving us examples of any other time where we needed the Most High God, he always came through for us. I just want to just give you a little precept for that. Let's go to the book of Matthew, chapter 6. And we're going to read verse 24. So that says, no man can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold thee to one and despise the other. Ye cannot serve God and mammon. All right. So these people are people who are literally in a position just like that. We couldn't have two masters. We couldn't serve God and serve Antiochus. Antiochus wasn't allowing that, and we already know that God ain't allowing it. So it's either you have to make a choice of who you want to align yourself with, who you want to be submissive to, who you want to allow to lead you. Do you want God to lead you, or do you want man to lead you? But this is what happens when you let God lead you. Okay? Verse 25. All right, that's not on here, but I'm going to just read that first. Therefore I say unto you, take no thought for your life, what ye shall eat, or what ye shall drink, nor yet for your body, what ye shall put on. Is not a life more than meat, and the body than raiment? Verse 31. Therefore take no thought, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or wherewithal shall we be clothed? For all these things do the Gentiles seek. For your heavenly Father knoweth that ye have need of all things. But seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Feast of dedication is doing exactly that, and that is what our ancestors did. They seek after the kingdom of God and his righteousness, not King Antiochus' righteousness, the Lord's righteousness. And what happened? Right? It says all these things shall be added unto you. So everything that we are in need of, anything that we want, peace. These are all things that we can get. We put God first. Take therefore no thought for the morrow shall take thought for the things of itself. Sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof. I just wanted to bring that up. The perfect precept for what we just got finished reading. All right, let's move on. The book of First Maccabees, chapter 3, verse 1. So now we have transitioned away from Mattathias, and we're transitioning into the story of Judas Maccabeus and everything that he did as he continued his father's instruction. All right, he continued on his father's conquest of ensuring that our people will be free from this madman. All right, that our people would have the ability to still keep these commandments and not have to be persecuted for it. He fought and did everything he could to reform his people, to reform our home. All right. So let's read a little bit. First Maccabees chapter 3. Then his son Judas called Maccabeus rose up in his stead, and all his brethren helped him, and so did all they that held with his father, and they fought with cheerfulness the battle of Israel. So these people, it wasn't sad that they had to fight for the Lord. It wasn't sad that they had to defend their honor for the Most High God. They did so with a cheerful manner, right? What we always hear, right? Like we see in Ecclesiastes chapter 2, right? Matter of fact, let's just bring that out real quick since we're on it. All right? Because they did this in a cheerful manner. Now, we've already been able to see that this was not a good situation, right? They were constantly having to defend themselves. They had to constantly worry about death. They had to constantly worry about losing things that were important to them. And even having to commit murder. But they did so cheerfully. And what do we see in Ecclesiastes chapter 2? Let me bring that out real quick. Ecclesiastes chapter 2, verse 4. All right. It says, whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully, and be patient when thou art changed to a low estate. For gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. So all of these men, all right, they had to go through this fire, brothers and sisters. All right. They had to go through this adversity. And what you'll come to find as we continue reading is that they prevailed. No matter how difficult it was, no matter how much they may have doubted it at some points in time, because they did doubt. Their faith was there, but they were also still kind of worried. I mean, rightfully so. Look at the situation that they were in. But they still had enough faith, and they still had the ability to take on this challenge of defending their commandment of the Lord, and they did so cheerfully. So I just thought that was something that was really important to bring up. All right. And that was on the book of 2 Ecclesiastes chapter 2, verse 4 through 6. All right. And there it is right there for you guys. So you can see it. So now let's transition back to the book of First Maccabees, chapter 3. All right. The book of First Maccabees, chapter 3, and verse 3. So he got his people great honor and put on a breastplate as a giant, and girt his warlike harness about him, and he made battles, protecting the host with his sword. In his acts he was like a lion, and like a lion's whelp warring for his prey. But he pursued the wicked and sought them out, and burnt up those that vexed his people. Wherefore the wicked shrunk for fear of him, and all the workers of iniquity were troubled, because salvation prospered in his hand. He grieved so many kings and made Jacob glad with his acts, and his memorial is blessed forever. Moreover, he went through the cities of Judah, destroying the ungodly out of them, and turning away wrath from Israel, so that he was renowned unto the utmost part of the earth, and received unto him such as they were ready to perish. The Apollonians gathered the Gentiles together in a great host out of Samaria to fight against Israel, which thing when Judah perceived, he went forth to meet him, and so he smote him and slew him. Many also fell down slain, but the rest fled. Wherefore Judas took the spoils, and Apollonius' sword also, and therewith he fought all his life long. Now when Saron, a prince of the army of Syria, had heard say that Judas had gathered unto him a multitude and company of the faithful to go out with him to war, he said, I will get me a name and honor in the kingdom, for I will go fight with Judas, and them that are with him, who despise the king's commandment. So he made him ready to go up, and there went with him a mighty host of the ungodly to help him, and to the advantage of the children of Israel. And when he came near to the going up of Beth-horon, Judas went forth to meet him with a small company, who, when they saw the host coming to meet him, said unto Judas, how shall we be able, being so few, to fight against so great a multitude and so strong, seeing we are ready to faint with fasting all these days? Unto whom Judas answered, it is no hard matter for many to be shut up in the hands of few, and with the God of heaven it is all one to deliver with a great multitude or a small company. For the victory in battle standeth not in the multitude of a host, but strength coming from heaven. So basically, not Mattathias, but Judas Maccabeus is trying to comfort his men to let them know, hey, listen, they may have the numbers, but we have our faith and we have the Most High. And with that, and that alone, we can trample anything that comes against us. All right? He's firing them up. He's probably giving them a nice, loud speech, right? He's getting them hype. You know what I'm saying? It's like when you're in the gym, you turn on your favorite tunes and you start getting pumped up, right? He's getting them ready to fight with everything that they have, but making sure that their faith is not shaken in any shape, form, or fashion. All right? Very, very great leadership qualities that are being displayed right here. Wherefore the Lord himself will overthrow them before our face. And as for you, be ye not afraid of them. Now, as soon as he left off speaking, he leapt suddenly unto them. And so Saron and his hosts were overthrown before him. This is a perfect example of faith without works is dead, right? All right. This is the works. They had the faith. Both of them have to be combined together in order for the Most High to act on your behalf. And they pursued them from going down of Beth-horon to the plain, where were slain about 800 men of them, and the residue fled into the land of the Philistines. Then began the fear of Judas and his brethren, in an exceeding great dread, to fall upon the nations round about them, insomuch as his fame came unto the king, and all nations talked of the battles of Judas. So now at this point, Judas Maccabeus and his brethren of Israelites are being feared by multiple places, multiple nations. All right, all of those who have laid down before King Antiochus to let his commandment be their new law. All these different people came up against Judas Maccabeus, and they all fell at his sword. And why did they fall? They fell because Judas and his men believed in the Most High, and the Most High God protected them. You know, like we always say, well, I like to say this personally, is the Most High cannot defend you if you don't put on your armor. You don't put on your armor. You don't have your sword ready. You don't have your shield. If you don't arm yourself with the Most High God's words, his will, all right, his commandments, then brothers and sisters, you are naked out here. We are in a spiritual battle daily. All right, fighting against all type of stuff, all type of spirits. We gotta fight lust. We gotta fight nations. We have so much that we have to deal with. But the only way that we can prevail is if, like the scripture says, we take on this adversity with cheer. But most importantly, we have to gear ourselves up, gird ourselves up, if you will, with the scriptures. This is our armor. This is our blueprint. This is the map. All right. We follow this, and success is right around the corner. Okay. So let's move up a little bit. I don't want to be too long for y'all today. The book of First Maccabees, chapter 4, verse 47. We're gonna skip around a little bit. All right. The book of First Maccabees, chapter 4, and verse 47. So now at this point, there's plenty of battles have been fought, and Judas has continued to move on this campaign of trying to cleanse Israel and basically making King Antiochus look like a fool. All right. So now we're fast forwarding into, okay, well, what happened after all of that has been done? The battles have been fought, the battles have been won, and what now is the next step for Judas Maccabeus and his people? All right. So now verse 47 says, then they took whole stones according to the law and built a new altar according to the former. So remember, their altar was defamed and destroyed due to the desolation of abomination. This is the stuff that Antiochus was doing. It was trying to destroy their temple, to destroy their altars, and having swine sacrificed and all type of debauchery. Okay. What Judas and his people did is they went ahead and they built a new altar. All right. According to the former. And made up the sanctuary and the things that were within the temple, and hallowed the courts. They made also new holy vessels into the temple. They brought the candlestick and the altar of burnt offering and of incense in the table. And upon the altar they burnt incense, and the lamps that were upon the candlestick they lighted, that they might give light in the temple. Furthermore, they set the loaves into the table, and spread out the veils, and finished all the works which they had begun to make. Now on the 5th and 20th day of the 9th month, which is called the month Castle, which is the month that we're in as of right now, brothers and sisters. All right. In the 148th year, they rose up betimes in the morning and offered sacrifice according to the law upon a new altar of burnt offerings which they had made. Look at what time and what day the heathen had profaned it. Even in that was it dedicated with songs and citherns and harps and cymbals. Then all the people fell upon their faces, worshiping and praising the God of heaven who had given them good success. So they are now, that's where I can put it, is they're having a feast, brothers and sisters, right? They don't created a new altar. They've set it up according to the law of the Most High, and they're happy because they have been successful. It was able to overcome the hell that was being brought against them by Antiochus and those who were loyal to him. Okay? And this gets into dedication and why this feast is so important and the crux of it, right? It says here, and so they kept the dedication of the altar 8 days and offered burnt offerings with gladness and the sacrifice of deliverance and praise. All right? So our feast of dedication is an 8-day celebration. Okay? And this is why we're keeping it. It came from right here. All right. Deliverance and praise and sacrifice. That is feast of dedication in its essence. Verse 57. They decked also the forefront of the temple with crowns of gold and with shields. In the gates, in the chambers they renewed and hanged doors upon them. Thus was there very great gladness among the people, for that the reproach of the heathen were put away. Moreover, Judas and his brethren, with the whole congregation of Israel, ordained that the days of the dedication of the altar shall be kept in their season from year to year by the space of 8 days, from the 5th and 20th day of the month Caslu, with mirth and gladness. So we already know that our feasts, or not even our feasts, and how we even know when the beginning of a month is established by our new moon. All right. So whatever your new moon is, or whatever doctrine you're in, all right, 25 days from there is when the Feast of Dedication was supposed to be kept. Okay? And that's what they did here. And this was something that was supposed to be carried on generation after generation. Even Christ kept the Feast of Dedication. All right? You ain't see Christ keeping Christmas. Yeah, it's funny, like, they tell us that Christ was born on Christmas, right? But please show me anywhere in the scriptures where Christ kept his birthday. Much or less, show me where he kept his birthday on Christmas. We've already seen through the past videos that I put out that on the Christmas, all right, the day, the 25th of December, or whatever case you want to call it, all type of nonsense was done on these days. You had orgies, you had people getting killed, you had commemoration in the birth of the Babylonian god Nimrod. All right, you had the the desolation of abomination set up where they went ahead and did the fame god altars and everything else on December 25th. There's way too many negative connotations with this particular day. So how in the world can we now amend that, combine it with the birth of our Savior, who wasn't even born at that time? You don't see anywhere in the scriptures examples of people keeping the holidays that we keep today. So if Christ didn't do it, then why are we doing it? Are we not supposed to be followers of Christ? Are we not supposed to be going according to his example? So if Christ wasn't doing the things that we like to do today, then we shouldn't be doing it either, because clearly it's not right. Okay? Let's go to verse 60. At that time also they builded up the Mount Zion with high walls and strong towers round about, lest the Gentiles should come and tread it down, as they had done before. So now they've completely refortified their home to the point where it won't be so easy to be overtaken and destroyed. Okay? And they set their garrison to keep it, and fortified the Torah to preserve it, that the people might have a defense against Idumea. And we already know who the people of Idumea are. Those are the Edomites. All right? And anybody who's aligned with them. Because those are the people who was going against us. Those are the people who were trying to take us out. Those are the people who was trying to push Antiochus' law of making us forsake the Most High God. So I bring all of that out, brothers and sisters. I pray that these classes that I've done have been edifying to you. We are still within the feast, 8-day feast. So we all stopped at basically at the end of First Maccabees 4. So you got First Maccabees 5 and onward up to Second Maccabees to read and really just take the time to pay attention to the spirit of our people. Pay attention to the things that they did. Pay attention to their commitment. Pay attention to their dedication. Pay attention to the inability for them to lay down and allow themselves to be forfeit of God's protection. Pay attention to the energy that they brought. There was no selflessness at all amongst our people at this time. We was really doing everything we could to fight for the Lord. And that is how we need to be in this truth. It's not about us anymore. For those who were in the world and now have awakened to the truth, at this point, you're supposed to leave off from the old man. The old man was comfortable doing all the stuff that the Most High God has been showing us passage after passage that he's against. All right? We have to get away from the world, right? Because we cannot love God and love the world. Let's bring that out real quick. 1 John 2:15. That's the first one we're going to go to, and then we're going to hit James 4:4. All right? So we'll go to 1 John chapter 2 and verse 15. Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. Verse 16, for all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, and the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of this world. And the world passeth away, and the lust thereof, but he that doeth the will of God abideth forever. That's verse 17. So it's telling us, if we just follow the Lord, we do what the Lord asks us to do, and we set ourselves with him and him alone, we'll be prosperous. Like we saw in Matthew 6:33, if we put the Most High God first, we put the kingdom first, we will be prosperous, we will be successful, we will have peace. The Most High knows what we need, but we have to earn it. And unfortunately, a lot of our brothers and sisters don't think that. They believe that, oh, I'm covered by the blood. I'm covered by the blood. Jesus, what does that mean? Right? You have to do what Christ taught you to do. And Christ never taught us to keep Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, Valentine's Day. Christ never taught us to be adulterers. He never taught us to be out here smoking weed. He never taught us to be out here getting drunk. He didn't teach us how to be whores. He wasn't teaching homosexuality. These are all things that Christ, Yahushua, Yeshua, whatever you want to call him, all right? He did not teach you these things. And what he was taught came from the Father. John 15:10. You know, because anytime I speak to y'all, I gotta make sure that I'm bringing out these precepts. I gotta make sure that y'all feeling me for real. Because I'm not out here just running my mouth. My brother's out here who's on these streets. All right? In the cold, in the heat. We're not out here just running our mouths. We're not out here just chatting. This is really serious. All right? John 15 and 10. I'm sorry. Salakia. Book of John, chapter 15 and verse 10. There it is. If ye keep my commandments, ye shall abide in my love, even as I kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. Right? So Christ kept his Father's commandments. That's why we see in the scriptures that Christ actually kept dedication. All right? Christ kept new moons. Christ kept Passover. Right? Christ kept first fruits. He kept everything that the Most High God, his Father, designated for him. And he taught us to do so at the time that he had here on this earth. And he passed that message on to anyone who was a true follower. I love talking about Paul so much. Paul was a devoted follower of Christ. So that means Paul was teaching everything that Christ was teaching and was trying to live that to the best of his ability, even in captivity, which we are in right now. We're in captivity. Paul was in captivity. We're in captivity. Paul kept commandments in captivity. We is being awakened within this captivity here in the United States. We're trying to do the same thing that Paul did. So you can't pick and choose how you want to live your life according to the Most High. You can't pick and choose when you're going to keep certain commandments and then when you're going to do your own thing. You're not going to pick and choose between following the Most High or following the world. You can only serve one master. You can't have two. James 4:4. Ye adulterers and adulteresses, know ye not that the friendship of the world is enmity with God? Whosoever therefore will be a friend of the world is an enemy of God. So not only can you not love God and love this world, but if you try to love this world, then you are not a friend of the Most High. You are an enemy. You're an enemy. You out here on the Sabbath day buying stuff. You out here doing your pleasures. You doing whatever you want to do on the Sabbath day. You are an enemy. All right? You trying to follow after all these people you see on social media who are doing all these immoral things. You're an enemy of the Most High. If you love the world more than you love God, you are an enemy. Our people were not enemies of the Most High at this point in time, right? Because our people, as much as they messed up back then, they always circle back. They always spin the block for the Most High. They was always able to fix the issue. We have now come to a point where we are not trying to fix the issue. We don't even know to fix the issue because we have no knowledge of what the true issue is. We have an idea, but we don't have a solution. And the solution is right here in the scriptures, brothers and sisters. We got to keep this. We got to get back to the Lord before anything else. All this marching, all these Black Lives Matter, all these other different things, they don't mean a damn thing if God isn't behind it. And that was shown to us here in the scriptures with Maccabees. They were few. They was going up against armies. thousands of men with their, a handful of people, and it was victorious every single time. And you'll see more of that as you continue to read Maccabees, and then you get into second Maccabees. First Maccabees and second Maccabees. You'll see it. Victory after victory. So, with that being said, brothers and sisters, take on the spirit of your ancestors. Have faith in the Most High. Be willing to defend this law. Defend your father the same way that you want him to defend you. And if you do that, I can guarantee that you won't regret it. The Most High is not a man that will lie to us. He has a whole book. New Testament, Old Testament. I don't know how you want to look at it, Torah, or whatever you want to call it. Like, listen, the Most High has put it right here. If we do what he asks us to do, he's going to make sure we're straight. And it's not like he's just saying that like it's a legit guarantee. So we need to get back to it and stop playing. Stop looking for every other person, every other nation to save us. Oh, y'all just voted not too long ago. Y'all voted for what? That president, no president is going to save you. Because that's not the president the Most High has set for us. Christ is our president. And Christ ain't came back yet. So while we over here trying to elect other people over us, that's not Christ. But then want to call ourselves followers of him. Don't make sense. Don't make sense. We got to get out of this matrix, y'all. We got to start thinking. All right, it's customary. Let's end off with the book of Matthew, chapter 26, verse 6. Now, when Jesus was in Bethany, in the house of Simon the leper, there came unto him a woman having an alabaster box, a very precious ointment, and poured it on his head. And he sat at meat. And when his disciples saw it, they had indignation, saying, to what purpose is this waste? For this ointment might have been sold for much and given to the poor. When Jesus understood it, he said unto them, why trouble ye the woman? For she hath wrought a good work upon me. But ye have the poor always with you, but me ye have not always. For in that she hath poured this ointment on my body, she did it for my burial. Verily I say unto you, wheresoever this gospel shall be preached in the whole world, there shall also this, that this woman have done, be told for a memorial of her. Acts 5:29, but we are to obey God rather than men. All right, Ecclesiastes 12 and 13, brothers and sisters, the whole duty of men is to keep these laws, statutes, and commandments. That is the beginning of our fear. That's the beginning of our love. And that's the beginning of prosperity and success for us. We need to keep these commandments. That's the whole duty. That's what we were designed to do. And somewhere along the line, we allowed other people who wasn't putting God first to make us feel that not putting God first was a good thing. And that is something that we'll be rewarded for. It's not. Stop listening to these false prophets and these pastors. Open up your scriptures, 2 Timothy 2 and 15. Study this for yourself approved. All right? We don't need the world's holidays when we have the Most High's holidays. Christmas, they get 1 day of celebration and gift giving. We got 8 days. Right? Choose the Lord, not the world. And with that, brothers and sisters, I say Shalom, Shalom, 12 tribes of Israel. I pray y'all have a blessed Sabbath. And once again, tune in next week. I'm going to have another topic for y'all. I can't tell you what it is yet. Got to keep it on the sneaky. But I'm here, and I'm going to keep on pushing this word. And shout out to all my brothers and my sisters who are out here doing the same thing. And with that, I say Shalom.